Okay. So today, I'd like to share with you or explore together with you a trap. I think it's probably a common trap. Seems to me it's a common trap that uh, keeps many of us in dissatisfaction, frustration, otherwise unsatisfied, unfulfilled. And so I think it'll be useful to explore this together. So, from my perspective, this trap has two sides, I'll call them. And I think that either side can trap you. So that's the nature of this trap. So you don't need both sides to be trapped. You only need one side to be trapped. But the nature of the trap is it has two sides. And if you get trapped not just by one side, but by both sides, then it's useful to know about both sides so that you can get yourself free from the trap. That's what the purpose of this exploration is. So by being aware, having the knowledge about the trap, the nature of the trap, looking for yourself to see, are you actually in this trap? How do you get yourself in the trap? And then we can also explore how you can get yourself out of the trap. I think that then everything that the trap produces can be inverted. Dissatisfaction can become satisfaction, frustration can become purpose, I suppose. Uh, Unfulfillment can become fulfillment. So that's some of the benefits of freeing yourself from the trap, and that you can free yourself from the trap by knowing about the trap and then actually looking for yourself. So these are the components. Hopefully, I've made that clear. If not, uh, sorry. So we'll start with. So as I said, two sides to the trap. So we'll start with one side of the trap. I think that makes sense. Just going to do one thing at a time. So I'm not going to try to do both sides at the same time. So we'll start with one side. So the one side of the trap that I'll start with is one I've noticed this in myself, and I hear this from a lot of people. And when I hear it from people, I hear it sometimes expressed as things like, uh, "Well, I guess that's just not what the universe wants for me," or "I'll just let God decide." Things like this. Now, I think that on the one hand, that kind of point of view can be understood as acceptance. And I think that acceptance, from my point of view, is really fantastic. It's foundational. And I'll maybe explore that with you in a moment. However, I think that there's a difference, and it can seem like a subtle difference, but an important difference between acceptance and disempowerment. And so I think it's useful to explore that so that each of us for ourselves can be clear on that. And just to be clear about my intention here, I'm not proposing that I know the answers for you. I'm just presenting some things to you so that you can look for yourself. And then you can discover for yourself what's true for you and what is actually useful for you. And then you can utilize that to help yourself. So take what I say as a pointer for you to look for yourself. And I really don't suggest that you take what I say as the truth. Because from my point of view, there's not just one way. There's your way. And your way is can only really be discovered by truthful inquiry. You actually have to look for yourself. So this one side of the trap I could call disempowerment or resignation, and it sometimes masquerades as acceptance. And there's a fine line because it may sometimes be acceptance, but then it crosses over into something that I'm proposing is not acceptance, something that is actually disempowerment. So, to make a clearer distinction here, imagine that you're in a building and the building is on fire. What do you do? Do you decide, well, I guess the universe just didn't want me to survive? Is that what you do? I mean, some people seem to be saying no. So notice what is your actual process? A lot of the time, it happens so fast, it's automatic. We don't really pay attention and notice it consciously, but you could notice it. So if you notice, you imagine that you're in a building, the building's on fire. Slow it down and notice what is your process. There's an inner process by which you determine what you're going to do. And I don't know what your inner process is. And I suppose everybody has a different inner process, although probably there's some commonality. We probably share some similarities in the process, although there may be unique differences among each of us. What I notice for myself is that, and I don't know that it happens in exactly the sequence, but there's something along the lines of, I want to live. It's kind of simple, actually, right? I want to live. So I have a desire, I have a will. I want to live. I'm faced with something that seems counter to my will, right? I want to live. I happen to be in a building that is on fire. That is threatening my will. My will is to live. The fire is going to burn the body. I mean, technically, if I don't identify with the body, this is not a problem. But if I'm identified with the body, then I say to make things even simpler. I'll just say if my will is I want this body to live for at least a little while longer, and the body is in a building that's on fire, unless I have some kind of yogic powers that allow me to, allow the body to survive the fire, then the building being on fire and the body being in the building seems like there's a conflict there. My will is the body should survive. The fire is threatening that. So based on that, I decide, well, my will should be the defining characteristic of what drives my action. I'm not going to just sit here and say, well, c'est la vie. I actually consult. What is my will? My will is I want this body to survive. I'm going to get out of the building if I can. Now, obviously, as I say, there can be a fine line between acceptance and disempowerment because hopefully this little illustration makes it clear to you, maybe, that uh, there are circumstances in which it's pretty obvious to you that you want your will to come out on top, right? You're like, well, I want the body to survive. The fire is a threat to that, but I'm going to try and get away from the fire. I'm going to try to get the body away from the fire so the body can continue to survive because that's my will. I'm not going to just resign myself and say, well, the building's on fire. I guess God wants to consume this body with fire. I have a will. I'm going to utilize that will. The will is going to drive the action. I'm going to attempt to get out of the building. Now, does that guarantee that I will get out of the building? No. There's still a chance that I won't get out of the building. But I'm not going to just choose to be resigned to the fact that the building's on fire and therefore I guess God wants to consume the body with fire. So hopefully that makes a clear distinction. And then also notice that there's still a role for acceptance. So if I happen to be in the building and the building's on fire, if I don't accept that the building's on fire, that's going to be stressful for me and it's going to interfere with me actually utilizing my will effectively, right? I'm in denial of the fact that the building's on fire. I'm not accepting the building is on fire. That's problematic. It's going to be stressful because I have to then use my will to deny the obvious fact that the building's on fire. And that's then in conflict with my will, which is for the body to survive. So it's not a good use of my energy to reject the fairly obvious fact. If the building's on fire, the building's on fire. I want to accept that. So the acceptance is not, I like this. The acceptance does not mean that what's happening is apparently aligned with my will. The acceptance is just, this seems to be what's going on. Seems to be that the building's on fire. I accept that that seems to be what's happening. I'm open to the possibility that might change, right? It's like I could discover that I'm wrong. Somehow I was hallucinating the fire, or it was some kind of optical illusion, or whatever. I could, that could be. But as far as I know right now, it appears that the building's on fire. I accept that. Now what do I do? Right? So acceptance means, and now what? Instead of being in conflict with the past, right? Like because the building on fire is in a sense is really in the past. My senses have detected something, and by the time that I'm processing that, it's already in the past. Am I going to be in conflict with that? It doesn't make any sense. It's not a good use of my energy. So I want to accept that. That frees me up then to choose, and now what? Given what I'm aware of, given my understanding of the situation, now what? Now my energy is freed up to address now what versus no, the building's not on fire. I don't accept this. Okay, so now even if I get that far and I accept the building's on fire and I am aware my will is for this body to survive and I start taking action, again, that does not guarantee that I'm going to be able to get out of the building alive. So here too, acceptance is important, useful, I guess I should say, skillful, because I don't know that I'm going to be able to get out of the building. I'm going to do my best. I'm going to use all of my energy in the most congruent way so that I can get out of this building if that's at all possible. But I accept that whatever is going to happen is going to happen. I'm not resigned to it. I just accept. So there's, like I say, a fine distinction between acceptance and resignation, and they can easily look like one another. And I'm not proposing that my definitions have to be your definitions, but I'm offering this so that you can inquire for yourself and find out for yourself. The reason, again, is the context here is that I'm proposing there's a trap. And one side of the trap is what I'm describing now or pointing to now. So, as I said, I have noticed this in myself, and I hear this kind of thing a lot from people. And so I suspect many people are getting caught in this trap, at least from this one side. So you could just become aware for yourself, and you could review at present. You could review over the past that's in your memory, and just notice: have you done that kind of thing? Is that working out well for you? And then you could also just be aware moving forward, so that you could notice if you have a tendency to do that kind of thing. Because I'm proposing that this mechanism, this side, is a trap that I think many of us get into at many different levels in a lot of different areas of our lives. So I'm using this very crude example of being in the building that's on fire because I think that makes it more obvious. But I see this happening at much subtler levels. And so you could check it out for yourself and see if you also notice that as well. Because the main point here is that if you have a will and you then deny yourself the empowerment of your will, then it might be useful to investigate that. and find out why. And is that actually working for you? I think it doesn't work. And again, this is subtle because there's acceptance, as I've already kind of pointed out, which I view acceptance as personally, I think it's a foundational thing for well-being. I think acceptance is necessary for good decision making, for happiness, for peace of mind. I think it's really, really skillful. And I think it's pretty easy to mistakenly cross the line and still think that, and call something acceptance when in fact it's resignation or disempowerment. Because there's there's a difference. It's sort of like in a sense, it's almost like sour grapes syndrome. Do you know sour grapes? It's the the Aesop's fable with the fox who sees the grapes and wants the grapes, tries to get the grapes, can't get doesn't get the grapes, and then gives up and declares, "Well, I guess they must have been sour grapes after all." And so it's a little bit like that. It's like you have a will, you want the grapes, as it were. You make maybe some efforts, but they don't succeed to your satisfaction, and then you just say, "Well, I guess it wasn't meant to be. I guess it was no good after all. I guess God didn't really want that for me." And so this is different, though. Again, this is different from acceptance. This is different from letting go. This is different from clarity. This is different from many other things that can be very useful and skillful. This is that you still have the will. You haven't clarified that that's not your will, but you're disempowering yourself. And there's a denial that's involved. So the denial actually requires using your energy against yourself. You have to use your energy to tell yourself a story about, oh, I don't really want it anyway, or it's too hard, I guess, whatever story you tell yourself. And so, and again, I'm not telling you what's right or wrong here. I'm just outlining some things, and then you can take a look. Maybe you agree, maybe you don't agree, and you're free to agree or not agree, or something else entirely. I really just invite you to look and find for yourself what helps you. So, so my proposal is here in regard to this side of the trap that if you have a will and you don't actually clarify that will adequately and you don't use your action to align with your will, then you're creating unnecessary conflict and suffering for yourself, just inwardly. You're just now dividing yourself and creating inner conflict. Because if this is why I say if you have a will, if you want something, if you have a desire, if you have an intention, if there's something that's important to you on any level, consciously, subconsciously, unconsciously, but if it's important to you, if you have that will and you don't sufficiently clarify that actually you no longer have that will, you as long as you still have that will, and then you get into this trap of, well, I guess that's not what the universe wants for me. I guess that's not how God has it lined up for me. I guess, whatever. You tell yourself these stories. Now there's the part of you that has this will for the thing, and you've split off another part of yourself that's now like a damper. It's like, it's like driving with one foot on the accelerator and one foot on the brakes at the same time. So that's how you're using your energy. You're going nowhere, but using all your energy. And so that's one side of the trap. Now, the other side of the trap, and remember, I'm proposing that either side of the trap is a trap in and of itself. So you don't need both sides of the trap in order to be in the trap. So they're kind of like two different traps, but when they work, when they work together, it forms a mighty trap. It's an even stronger trap than either of them individually. So, so you might recognize yourself in one of these traps and not the other one. And I'm just pointing out that either one of them is a trap in and of itself. So if you recognize any of this in yourself, then it's useful information, probably. Not all of it has to be true for you in order for this to be useful. But if you do find that both sides of the trap are something you recognize in yourself, then just know, from my perspective, both of these work together, and it will probably almost certainly be quite useful to you to free yourself of both of the traps, and then you free yourself simultaneously from the larger trap created by both of them. So this other side is people. I have so the phrase that oftentimes people will use is spiritual bypassing. And so sometimes people are consciously aware that they are wanting to avoid spiritual bypassing. And sometimes people don't have that phrase, they don't have that idea, but they may still be in the same trap. So you don't have to have the word spiritual bypassing as an idea that you're familiar with or that you work with or you're trying to avoid or anything like that in order for this trap to be something that you might get into. But if you do happen to be a person who knows about this idea of spiritual bypassing and you're afraid of spiritual bypassing and you try to avoid spiritual bypassing, um, that doesn't guarantee that you're in this trap, but it might give you pause to really take a look because it kind of it makes it more likely. But the general idea is this that there's something that you don't like. And not just some one thing. There's many things you don't like, right? I mean, everybody has things they don't like. With there are things we don't like, we have aversion to things. Sometimes we have mild aversion, sometimes we have stronger aversion. But this idea of aversion, we don't like something, we want to avoid certain things, certain experiences. And so then, because we want to avoid those things, we develop various strategies to try to avoid those things. Some of them are more effective than others, but generally they're not terribly effective. And some of the strategies that we avoid are the kinds of strategies that people will then categorize as spiritual bypassing. And so this is like, it's a kind of denial, it's like, I'm perfectly happy. Everything's fine. It's all rainbows and roses. I'm going to heaven anyway. I'm going to sit at the right hand of Jesus and all is well. When in fact, not so much, right? Um, and again, here there's a subtle distinction because I'm not proposing that uh, you can necessarily judge accurately whether something is this or that based on what it appears outwardly. Because I don't think that's true, but I think you can know inwardly, and I'm hoping to explore that with you here to invite you to have a clearer distinction so that you can recognize for yourself when when your strategies are useful, when what you're doing is useful versus when it's not. And if it's not, then you're in the trap. So the idea here is again, there are things that you don't like. You have aversion to certain things. Could be feelings, emotions, sensations, situations, people, you name it. Okay, lots of things that you could have aversion to. And um and then uh you have strategies for trying to avoid those things. We all have strategies for trying to avoid the things that we don't want or we don't like. And some of those strategies are uh, denial and I'll just categorize them generally, broadly as denial. So these And this is what people will then refer to as, I think, as spiritual bypassing. I mean, unfortunately, I think a lot of different people have a lot of different ideas about what spiritual bypassing is, and then they'll just throw out the term, uh, like you're spiritually bypassing. Shame on you. You shouldn't be spiritually bypassing. But that's my understanding of it. Is that it's not it's an avoidance. It's rather than an honest inquiry into the nature of the experience. And by the way, the my understanding is the person is a Buddhist, I don't know, practitioner, philosopher, uh, who coined the term. And my understanding is that he actually even said that spiritual bypassing may be a necessary temporary coping strategy in certain situations. So he wasn't even suggesting, as I understand it, that it was that spiritual bypassing is always bad. It's just making the point that, like most things, context matters. So uh, in short term coping contexts, it might be useful because it's all you got. You know, if that's all you got, make use of it. And longer term, it probably is not what's going to serve you best. So, you know, so when people have this idea, oh, spiritual bypassing, that's bad. So now they want to avoid spiritual bypassing. But the problem is, in a sense, a lot of the times the trying to avoid spiritual bypassing is, in fact, spiritual bypassing. Um, so this side of the trap is uh, basically it's characterized by trying to avoid the discomfort, the but the a specific kind of discomfort, the discomfort of really allowing the natural movement of uh, the intelligence of life to take care of everything. And so what I've noticed in myself and in some other people is that when they're trying, whether they have this idea of spiritual bypassing as a concept or not, they still have this idea of uh, it's not okay for me to let this go. It's not, I have to keep holding on to it. I have to do something with this. So if there's some hurt, if there's some, whatever it is, there's some discomfort, emotional or otherwise, there's a sense of if I let go of this, then that's inherently bad. That's inherently an avoidance. That's inherently spiritual bypassing. I should not do that. I have to keep focusing on it. I have to keep holding on to it. I've got to keep looking at it. And it's kind of like having a wound that you never let heal because you keep scratching at it. And so here's from my point of view. And again, you take a look for yourself. I don't want you to just think that what I'm telling you is the truth, but I'm pointing to something that I think is really useful that I've found to be useful. And I'm sharing it with you because I think it can be useful for you. So just take a look and see if what I'm pointing to here might be true for you. That these things that are chronically there, unresolved, bothering us, things that we have this relationship with where it's like, I really, I really don't like it, but on the other hand, I feel like I can't let it go. I'm proposing that really what that is it's a call to uh, a, a deeper inquiry because there's really just something there that hasn't been understood, accepted, processed, clarified, and ultimately let go. Because if you notice, I mean, you notice whatever you notice. I've noticed that everything in this life is transitory. It's always moving. There's nothing that stays. It's always coming and going. That's its nature. Things come, they stay for a little while, and then they go. That's just how it goes. And so if something's really like bothering me, and it just continues to bother me, uh, it seems to me, this my experience has borne this out, that that's because I have a lack of clarity about what what this is, who I am, what the relationship is, what I want, and then ultimately it's about letting go. So it's like I'm still clinging to something. I'm clinging to it because it's like I don't have the clarity to let it go yet. I'm still thinking there's something here for me. There's something that I need to either get out of this or something here, something I need to do with it. But if I don't get sufficient clarity about it, then it still remains. I still am grasping it and it still continues to bother me. It's pulling at my energy. I feel bad. And but the problem is if I keep thinking, well, I can't let it go. I can't let it go because that would be spiritual bypassing or whatever my particular philosophy is. I can't let it go. I've got to keep on holding on to it. I've got to keep on looking at it. I got to keep on poking at it. Then I'm just kind of stuck. That's hence the trap. Because on the one hand, I'm wanting to avoid it. I really don't like it. I'm afraid. I'm uncomfortable, whatever. And on the other hand, I feel like I can't let it go. So I'm trapped. And I'm proposing that the remedy is to actually investigate and get clear on what is important to me. What do I actually want? What do I actually value? And then let go of everything else. So now maybe if that's at all clear to you, then maybe you can start to see how this can work together with the other side of this trap. Because both of them really have to do with a lack of clarity about what I actually want. I laugh because it always kind of comes back to that. Does that make sense? Can you see that? It's like, okay, if I'm in the building and the building's on fire, and I'm just like, well, I guess that's what God wants for me. It could be that that's what I actually want. It could be, like if I've done the work and I'm clear on that, then I'm at peace. I'm good. I'm like, you know what? I've done the work. I'm really clear. I'm clear in this moment. What I want is whatever God wants. I don't want anything other than that. And if God is making the building on fire, then that's clearly what I want. And if God burns the body, that's what I want. If I'm really clear on that, amazing, because then there's no suffering. There's just clarity. But if I'm there and I'm like, well, I guess that's just what God wants, but there's a conflict inside because there's a part of me that's like, nobody get the hell out of here. But I'm like, no, 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 shut up. Can't have that, that I can't have a will, I guess it's just what God wants. It's too much work, it's too hard. I guess this is what God wants. So there's a conflict. So I'm not really at peace because I have this unresolved conflict. So it comes down to, again, a lack of clarity about what I actually want. So from my point of view, that's a large part of the work is to get clear on what do I want. On the other side of the trap, also about a lack of clarity about what I want because if I'm you know, still grasping at something. There's something unresolved. There's something that's bothering me, whatever it might be. It could be anything, but there's something that is unresolved that uh, one part of me is wanting to avoid it. That's why it's unresolved because a part of me wants to avoid it. Part of me says, no, can't look at it, can't feel it, can't allow this, can't accept this. No way. It's no way. So there's still always some level of avoidance of it. So I don't have clarity about what is this? Who am I? What's my relationship with this? What do I want? And as long as I don't have sufficient clarity about that, how am I going to know whether to let go or how to let go? Or I guess, I mean, it's like, or what to let go of. I don't have fine enough granularity of clarity to know that because it's sort of like, I don't know if you've ever had the experience of uh, moving house. You live somewhere and you live there for a while, maybe. You accumulate a bunch of stuff. You know how that is. I mean, this is totally first world problem, I guess. But if you're a first world sort of person, you've probably had this experience where you accumulate a bunch of stuff that you don't want or need that you're never going to use. But you're just like, well, maybe someday I'll have a use for this. So you've got drawers and closets and boxes of stuff that you haven't even gone through in God knows how long, a long time. And then you're going to move and then you get overwhelmed by the moving process. So you're like, you lug all this stuff along because you didn't take the time to go through it. So then you're going through all this work of lugging all this stuff. You got boxes full of stuff that you haven't gone through in forever. Or even if you give it some like cursory looking through, you you don't actually give it enough attention to get clear on, am I actually going to use this? Do I actually want this? And so you're just like, well, I guess by default I got to keep it. You just put it in the box. You're like, I'll deal with it later after I move. So you bring all these huge boxes full of stuff. You pay for the big, the movers and the van and the whole thing, and you get all the stuff moved in. Then you got to find places for all of it, and it's like, oh, that's overwhelming. So the box goes in the back of the closet somewhere in the room that you don't even use because that's again first world problem, right? Like we've got rooms we don't even use except for to store the stuff that we're never going to use. Other than other than the one thing, right? You got like the one thing in the whole big the boxes in the closets in the room. There's like one thing, but you've got to do the work to get clear on the one thing. And so it's kind of like that with all the stuff that we cling to psychically, energetically, that there might be little nuggets, little bits of gold in there where it's like, okay, this is true. This is something valuable for me. This is something I want. This is something that I actually can make use of. This is something that aligns with my soul's purpose. But how much other stuff is lumped together with it that you're pulling along, you're like lugging it with you through your life. And you can't even access it when you would want it or use it because it's just buried with all of this other junk that you can't even know what it is or where it is because it's just lumped in with everything else. And so all this clinging becomes very burdensome. At first it doesn't, you don't notice it so much because it's just so small, but then a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. It's like, when if you like, I don't know, if you ever went to college, you moved out from your parents' house, you went to college, and you know what that experience was like. You got your laundry, and you bring your laundry home you don't do laundry the whole semester, and then you bring the laundry home to do the laundry on break, and it's like, oh my goodness, this is such a burden, but whatever you deal with it because you don't want to do the laundry during the semester. So, uh, so it's like, okay, that seems like that's manageable, sort of, because it's relatively small. But then you move out, get your own apartment, then it's a little bit more. And then a little bit more, and a little bit more, and a little bit more. And the next thing you know, you're 47 years old and what has happened to me? So I think it's kind of like that. It's this little, it's like, builds up a little bit by a little bit by a little bit, but then that compound effect is really catches up with you. Uh, and so these are the two sides of the trap. And I think what they share in common is really a lack of clarity about what do I really want? What do I really value? What's really important to me? And then, okay, so two, and again, I don't know what you will find. I'm really just outlining some things for you based on what I've discovered, what I've found up to this point. Uh, and you can look for yourself and see if this is valuable to you. What I found though is that the remedy is kind of two pronged. So the first is what I've just described is got to get clear on what do I actually want? What's important to me? What do I value? And then the second is letting go, letting go of everything else. Because now, of course, part of the difficulty of letting go is that there's still these impulses that have been rehearsed over a lot of time that say, well, but maybe one day I'm going to want that. Maybe I'm going to use that. Maybe that's going to come in handy. I mean, you never know, right? And so those can still come up. I mean, I would personally, I just expect them. Maybe that's not a great idea, but they just seem to show up so often. And I'm like, oh, okay, there you are again. So I'm not surprised by them. It's like, okay, here's this. Here's, of course, there's the impulse to like hold on to the thing. So then, for me, it's part of a process of refinement. So those impulses, they're like, I mean, but maybe I'm going to need this. Maybe I'm going to need to hold on to this resentment. Maybe I'm going to need to hold on to this jealousy. Maybe I'm going to need to hold on to this old hurt. Maybe I'm going to need to hold on to this pride. Maybe I'm going to need to hold on to this is how everybody else should be. Maybe I'm going to need to hold on to those things. And I, if that shows up, it's like, it's just there to help me. This is how I see it. It's just there to help me to then inquire, is that actually what I want? Do I really want to be sticking my nose in everybody else's business, using my energy to determine what they should do, what they should want, how they should behave, all that stuff? Do I really want to be doing that? Is that actually important to me? Does that actually align with my values? And so I do a look and I'm like, no, I guess I don't. Just like I got clear on that yesterday and the day before and the day before that, but I guess I wasn't clear enough. So it's there just like, okay, here, get a little clearer today. So I look, oh yeah, I guess that's not really something that I really want. So I can let that go. Because why? Again, because then I'm lighter. Because then I can use my energy for what I want. Then I'm not going to be in this trap because the trap, like I said, it's like being it's not a trap of being like bound by others, by external forces. It's a trap of from within. It's like I described earlier of it's like driving the vehicle with one foot on the accelerator and one foot on the brake. I'm doing it. I'm doing it totally within myself. And and that hurts. It hurts, it's exhausting, and it's not satisfying because it's not actually moving in a way that's aligned with what I want, which is a kind of obvious given if my analysis is correct, it's kind of obvious, right? It's like, well, if the problem is fundamentally that I don't really have clarity about what I want, well, then it makes sense that I wouldn't be moving in the direction of what I want, or even if I was, I wouldn't know it because I don't know what I want. So, getting so getting clear on what I want is really important, and this is to me, this is the beautiful thing is that that's not separate from life. That's not separate from my life. It's not like, oh, my life with all of its problems and somehow I've got to carve out some extra time to get clear on what I want. It's like, well, no. My life with all of its so-called problems is actually the training ground that helps me refine my clarity about what it is that I want because every time I'm in pain, it's really just an invitation for me to take a look and it's like, oh, well, what is this pointing to? Oh, I'm clinging to something. It's like, oh, I, like, I mean, I can't even. I really can't overstate how this is a moment to moment thing in my own experience. I don't know what your experience is or will be, but for me, it is ongoing, constant, anytime that I'm even remotely conscious, because I'm being triggered all the time. I mean, if I'm by myself, I'm being triggered. And if I'm with other people, I'm being triggered. And so and the triggering, it's not like that. Oftentimes, I think that has this negative connotation for people, but it's for me, it's like, no, this is a triggering of a refinement. This is a triggering of, I mean, think about it. It's like a trigger is a neutral thing. What it, the outcome, it could be positive or negative according to what you want, but the trigger itself is just a mechanism by which something is initiated. It's a catalyst. So something happens, it catalyzes something in me, and that, from my point of view, is just an opportunity for me to get clearer on what I want. So I'm noticing, oh, what is this? Oh yeah, I'm feeling this, I'm feeling this thing. What? Oh, yeah. I'm feeling this thing because I have this expectation. This other person should be behaving differently. This other person should do what I want them to do. They should take instruction from me without any kind of contradiction. They should just say, yes, sir, thank you. And they're not doing that. So I'm being triggered. And it's like, well, okay. So I've got this big box of stuff I've been lugging around. And in that box, apparently, is this thing called other people should always do exactly what I say without talking back. Is that true? Hell no. I mean, because like obviously it's being demonstrated to me that it's not the case, and I don't even want it to be the case because I don't want because that's not what I want. You see, that was something that was a I thought that I needed other people to follow that rule so that I could have what I actually want. And I mistook that to mean that I want them to always do what I say to do without talking back. But it turns out I don't care about whether people do what I want them to do without talking back. What I actually care about is peace, happiness, contentment, freedom. And I just thought I needed people to do what I say to do without talking back and to be grateful for it, by the way, in order for me to have peace, freedom, contentment, happiness. But actually, it's not true. So I can just let go of that, you see. And for me, that's how I found I can free myself from that trap. Now, uh, I don't know what you'll find, but I think that that's a pretty good introduction to the idea. If you have any questions about it, feel free to let me know. If you have questions about anything that I've shared today or anything else that you'd like to investigate while we've got this little bit of time together. So, for those who are here live, if you've got any questions that you want to put in the chat, feel free to do so. Um, and for those who will watch us on YouTube, since you don't have the opportunity to put your questions in here live in the chat, a couple of things that I want to offer to you. One is um, that I do have, if you, I do have a free guide called the Rail Transformation Guide, which outlines 5 of the key points that I think are high priority, that I've found personally to be high priority for producing real transformation in life, not just temporary little, temporarily feel a little bit of relief, but actually produce real change that's lasting. Then this is a free guide that covers those 5 things, and it's free. You can get that on my website at joeylott.com/RT for real transformation. I'll put the link in the description on YouTube. And the second thing is that also when you get access to that, you'll also get the information emailed to you so that you can join these meetings live if you'd like, and then you can have the opportunity to ask questions live if that's something you'd like to do. Plus, then we can remain in contact through email, and I can let you know about other opportunities for things like this. You'd be the first to know. So uh, that's what I've got for today. If you've got anything, feel free to let me know in the chat. Otherwise, we'll wrap it up. Um, not seeing anything yet in the chat, which is nice, I guess, because, well, I mean, there's a few things. I'll just, before I say I'm not seeing anything, I'll look at the things that are actually here. But I didn't think there were any questions. Okay, here we go. So somebody's got a question here. It says, having a little trouble understanding today's lesson, is it fair to say that the moments that trigger man can be used to investigate what I really, maybe you mean man, trigger man or trigger mean, can, I'm not sure, any trigger can be used to investigate what I really want. Yeah, yeah, exactly. You see, there you go. You could have saved a lot of time. Could have just said that. Let's try it over. Let's start over. Uh, Welcome. Today, I have a very short, simple point to make, which I'll try to say in as few words as possible. Everything that happens in life can be utilized to gain greater self-awareness, which can then allow you to be happier and more fulfilled. If I was more prepared, that would be how it would be. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, you get the rough version. But you got it. I don't think you had any trouble understanding it. You understood it far better than I did. So I think you get an A plus. Um, there's another comment here. It says, yes, the feeling of sour grapes and of over fantasies can overrun me. Yeah. And for that, I mean, I just find just slowing it down and taking one thing at a time seems to be the only way that I know how to do it. Uh, I'm I mean, I guess I'm I'm a I'm a rare specimen, I think, because it seems like the rest of society, they're really like, no, faster, faster, move faster, do all the things all at once. And I'm like, I don't know, I can't do it. I can only do one thing at a time. So I just do one thing at a time. And so far it's working. I'm still here. I'm still alive. Some days it's touch and go, but as of today, I'm still here. And so it's working out. Oh, me. Yes. So let me reread it. Oh yeah, the trigger me. Same, but you still understood it absolutely perfectly. Yeah. Let's see. So we've got another one here. It says, accept God's will after exhausting. Oh, accept God's will after exhausting your own efforts. Uh, hmm. So yeah, I mean, I can see why you would interpret what I said in that way. That was not how I intended it. Um, I, although, I mean, that's not like way off from what I intended, but I would say what I would intend is more like, uh, always accept what is. And I'm not saying that you should follow this rule. This is just what I have found to be useful. Always accept what is because it is. And then uh I and then that's the starting point. I don't want to waste my energy fighting with what is. I don't even know what is. So why am I going to fight with it? I mean, like I gave the example of the building seems to be on fire. It's like seems to be on fire. That's all I can say. See, I don't know that it's on fire. I don't know that there's a building. I don't know anything. But I'm I have certain operating assumptions. So, like, so it seems like there's a building. It seems like the building's on fire. Okay, I accept that. I accept that that seems to be the case. Why am I going to fight with that? I'm not going to fight with it. I'm not going to fight with any of it. You know, it's like seems to be the case. Uh, and when I say I'm not going to fight with it, it doesn't mean that outwardly I'm not going to. Sometimes I can, I can, I'll use aggression. I'll use aggression in with other people strategically. You know, I mean, I'm not going to like, you know, I guess there could be circumstances when it might come to it, that there would be a physical confrontation, but thankfully it's not has not happened. Uh, but you know, I mean, I'll if it comes to it, sometimes I'll like I can be quite assertive. Uh, and so you know, outwardly, that's why I say I don't think it, I don't think it's really all that possible to judge things from the outside. I think we can only really know to the extent that we can know anything, at least to the extent that I can know anything. I can only really just report to the best of my ability about what I'm actually finding inside. Um, so, so I just really, when I say accept, I'm really just accepting that this is what seems to be the case. I just accept it. I'm not gonna, that's my starting point. It's like, oh, well, this seems to be what's happening. I accept that that seems to be what's happening. Now what? Uh, so then the now what is, well, what is my will? What do I want? And because as long as I'm here, there's some will. As long as I'm saying there's some will. There's some idea of somebody who has some will. Uh, I don't see any reason to deny that or have shame around that or say any of that. I mean, like the idea, oh, I shouldn't have a will. Really? I shouldn't have a will? So I am going to use my will again to say that I shouldn't have a will? That seems crazy. I mean, not that I haven't done it, but I just didn't find it was very functional. Um, so I accept that this is what seems to be the case, including I accept that I seem to have a will. I accept that there seems to be a sense of an I who seems to have a will, and I accept all of that. And then the question is just how can I best allow for this skillfully for the most harmonious unfoldment of this configuration. That's all. You know, I'm more like I don't know, like I don't know what you would call that. I don't maybe you call that an artist or it's kind of a fine line between an artist and a person who's directing traffic. I guess, you know, I feel like it's both. It's the same kind of thing. I'm kind of just like, you know, trying to just allow for the most harmonious flow. Um, So then this commenter goes on and says, use challenges to refine what you want. That's what I got or understood. Yeah, you got it. Use challenges to refine what you want. I mean, I'm not saying that you should. But that was the invitation is that you could look at that as a possibility and see if that works for you. We got another one here that says, I'm still not clear on how spiritual bypassing might stop me from getting or doing or experiencing what I really want. Well, The, I mean, yeah. So the idea here is that if there's something that you are uh, trying to avoid, I want to try to uh, work this through in a kind of logical way. So let's say there are things that you want to avoid. Would you, I mean, hopefully you would agree with that. I mean, I don't know about hopefully. I guess, do you agree with that? Do you agree that there are things that you have a aversion to, things that you have a compulsion to try to avoid? Does that seem true to you? Okay, yeah. So, so if you have things that you want or that you compulsively attempt to avoid, or there's a preference to avoid or avert that you have aversion to, then um, f for each one of those things, so on an individual basis, each of the things that you want to avoid in any given uh, instance, your attempt to avoid will either be successful or unsuccessful. And if it's successful, then it will either be successful in the short term or it will be only, or it'll be successful in the long term. Yeah, if it's successful in the long term, we could just say that you have successfully avoided the thing that you wanted to avoid, in which case I guess you say, well, then it's no longer an issue. I mean, if you've avoided it and it's not actually showing up, congratulations. So non-issue. We don't need to even address that anymore because it's not even a thing. It's like we don't need to talk about how to is it bad to have avoided the monster in the closet who eh, probably not. We can just unless that's still a thing. But if it's not a thing, then let it go. It's like it's done. It's not a thing. But if you've avoided it short term, but not long term, it keeps coming back, then I would say you didn't really successfully avoid it at all. In which case, it just falls into the category of you did not successfully avoid it. So we've really just got two categories. You either successfully avoided it long term permanently, in which case it's not a thing, or you did not successfully avoid it long term permanently. And I'm proposing that only in that case, that's the only category that really is worth giving any attention to. Probably, at least now, it's probably a higher priority, let's say. So those things that are you have an aversion to, but you have not successfully permanently avoided them. They keep recurring, whether it shows up in form or you still are stressed about it because in your imagination and you're anticipating it and still trying to avoid it. Either way, it still counts in my view. Uh, so what was the question? I gotta go back. So spiritual bypassing. So in those cases, sometimes the strategy is to try and pretend like everything's fine. I don't have a problem. Everything's fine. Whatever. It's all good. And um and I'm saying that strategy, any strategy that works. In which case, excellent. I'm not here to judge people's strategies. I'm just here to offer uh, different perspectives and new options when strategies are not working. So if your strategies work, congratulations. And if something I say seems to be uh, to poo-poo some strategy that works well for you, then ignore me because I don't know what I'm talking about. If your strategy is working for you, awesome. Um, but if your strategies are not working for you, if your if a strategy that's not working is a strategy of it's all fine, it's all good, um, then it's not all fine and all good because it's not working. That's why you just have to be honest about these things. So I've noticed if the thing keeps is recurring, if there's this recurring, if I'm recurrently triggered, if I'm irritated, frustrated, angry, in pain, afraid, whatever, depressed, then um, it's just for me useful for me to actually take a look at it and find out what's really happening here? You know, like enough already, enough. I'm tired of dragging this box around. Let me take a look in it and see what's actually in the box. Um, so that's all is that I look at things largely through an energy management point of view because uh we have it's an interesting thing because in a sense in theory we have unlimited energy. We are unlimited energy. And yet in practice uh it doesn't always appear to be the case, and that really has a lot to do with this weird thing about managing energy. Um, so it's like how am I managing the energy? It just seems to be a really, from my point of view, seems to be a really important question. And if I'm when I take a look, a lot of the time what I find is I'm using my energy counter to my actual desire. If my actual desire is uh, love, harmony, peace, joy. And then I'm using my energy to keep on being frustrated, angry, irritated, impatient, resentful, uh, and holding these conflicts within myself. Then it goes back to this analogy that I used earlier of like driving the car with one foot on the accelerator and one foot on the brakes. That's the what I'm when I'm talking about energy management. That's for me, that's a good illustration of what I'm talking about because I've got all this energy, but if I'm using my own energy against myself, it cancels itself out. And then I'm not achieving what I want and I feel bad. And then the tendency is because this is kind of the dominant programming from my observation, it's the dominant programming of society presently. The tendency is to think, well, it's because of some other reason. It's for some reason outside of me. It's because of my mom, my dad, my teachers, the government, my spouse, my whatever. It's always somebody's problem. Somebody else is causing me this problem. It's because of I got unlucky. It's because government. There's some conspiracy to cause everybody to be fat and stupid and sick and uh this and like all those things might be true. And I mean, I don't even want to get in an argument with myself or anybody else about whether those things are true or not true, because I think that even if they are true or not true, almost it doesn't matter because those are things that I'm not going to control. I'm not going to control other people. I'm not going to control the weather. I'm not going to control, which way the earth is spinning. I'm not going to control these things. Why am I going to waste my energy on that? Uh, so I just am interested in let me clean up how I'm managing the energy that I have been given. Oh, uh, this is like the parable of the talents in that Jesus tells in Matthew. Um, I'm not going to get it quite right, but it's like the master goes away and he has three. Uh, I think this is his three people who work for him, who he gives talents to. These are like money. We could say dollars, but talents. So the talents are like dollars. They're a form of currency, and he gives these talents to these three workers, and I think he gives 10 talents. I don't remember how it works exactly. Anyway, he gives these. The point is this: he gives the talents to the three workers, and when he comes back, he asks them to report to him how what they've done with the money. And the first two come back and they say, well, I basically I multiplied it. You gave me X and I came back and I got 10X. And the other one's like, you gave me X and I came back with 5X. And then the first one is like, it says, well, I buried it and I've dug it up here and here it is. And the master is irate and he takes from the one who buried it and he says, basically like, get out of my sight. And he says, okay, so I'm going to take from you what I gave you, and I'm going to give it to those who multiplied what I give them. Because why? They're good stewards. It's like why? So the point is, and then it follows with those who uh, something like to those who how does it go? So to those who are uh, basically to those who do well, who are good stewards, more will be given, and to those who are not good stewards, even what they have will be taken away. That's essentially the point. And so I think that that's a principle which seems to be true. It's like if I've been given this little bit of energy to manage and I can't manage this well, why on earth would a loving God give me more? I'm already mismanaging this. If I'm given more, what am I going to do? I'm going to mismanage that. How's that going to be? I'm already causing myself a great deal of pain with this little bit of energy. If I have this much energy, how much pain am I going to cause myself? A lot of pain. I don't want that kind of pain. So a loving God does not give me that much energy because I have not demonstrated that I am capable. Not capable. That's the wrong thing. That's the wrong thing to say. I have not yet shown that I have the knowledge and wisdom and practice to be able to do it yet. So it's like I mean, granted, different cultures have different ideas about knives, but in most of our present day cultures, we would probably consider it to be uh, uh, a bad idea to give an extremely sharp, long bladed knife to an infant or to a toddler, even worse, because the toddler is going to run around with it. So, like you don't, there's a love and wisdom in only giving what one can manage relatively safely. So I don't know if that adequately answered the question, but that was my response. And you elaborate, you say I procrastinate with filling out paperwork. Um, so from my in my experience, the procrastination you can address this through many different means, but the most obvious entry point there, like a starting point, would be with uh, parts integration. So because consciously you want, let's say you might not want to fill out the paperwork per se, but you want, presumably, consciously, you want the outcome of whatever filling out the paperwork will give you. And so consciously, you want that. But then it's as though there's a part of you that chooses not to do that, not to do what the necessary steps in order to get the outcome. Okay, so now you have these two parts which are in conflict, apparently. The conflict, though, exists because again, there's a lack of clarity regarding what these two parts actually want because uh, they, it's from my point of view, I think about it as levels. Okay, so at a at a more superficial level, the there's a conflict. The conflict exists at a superficial level. So this part wants the outcome, and this part wants to not do what is necessary, apparently, to get the outcome. Therefore, it seems like there's a conflict at that level. So, very difficult to resolve the conflict at that level because, we've all been there. You're negotiating back and forth. Well, do you want this? Yes, I want this. Okay. And then therefore, you should fill out the paperwork. And it's like, no, I'm not going to do it. I want to fill out the paperwork. Okay, do you want this? Yes, I want this. Okay, then you should fill out the paperwork. He's like, no, I'm not. And then like, okay, I'll tell you what, you can have some ice cream if you fill out the paperwork. He's like, no, I'm not stupid. I'm not gonna, you can't bribe me. I'm not gonna fill out the paperwork. So we just stay stuck a lot of the time at that level. But if you go to a deeper level, and you actually examine what do these parts want through this, whatever they want at the superficial level. So like this part that doesn't says, I don't want to fill out the paperwork. Okay, you can ask that part. Well, what uh, one way, usually if it's a negation, I would start by asking, what do you want instead? Right. So, and I don't know what the part will answer, but just to give a hypothetical, it could be like, well, okay, what do you want instead of filling out a paper? Well, I want to just relax. Okay, great. Then I would invite, okay, and when you are able to relax or when you have relaxation, what does that give you? So now we're going to a deeper level. We're inviting a deeper investigation. What do you want through that? Because this is a strategy. Avoiding filling out paperwork is a strategy. And it's a strategy to try and, in my hypothetical example, it's a strategy to try to get to relaxation. And relaxation is a strategy to try to get to something else. Happiness, peace, ultimately, right? It's something like that. And so when you can get to that deeper level, then the conflict, if you get to a deep enough level, the conflict, it goes away because then there's harmony. The parts actually have harmony at a deeper level. Superficial level, no. Deeper level, yes. So that would be anytime procrastination comes up, that is what how I would start. I'm not saying that that will always resolve it. Probably 90% of the time it will, which is why I would start there. Um, okay, so we've got one that says, off today's topic, I know, but I've noticed you often make a reference to level 27 enlightenment. That's so funny because I actually had a thought. I'm glad you brought it up. Thank you for reminding me. Because this was a message that came to me earlier today, and I had the thought, oh, I can talk about that today, and then I forgot. And so you're reminding me. Apparently, it was important for some reason. Um, so what is this, please? And what system proposes such a thing as I'm somewhat flummoxed that anyone could ever have managed to put labels on the very experience of enlightenment itself? Or maybe it's meant like Spinal Tap's 11 on the amp. Thank you. It is very much like Spinal Tap's 11. That is a very, very good, that's a very good comparison. I exactly like that. Um, yeah, level 27 enlightenment is um a phrase that I use jokingly, but not jokingly, to refer to um this really, I think it's a uh unexamined, or it's not an inadequately examined idea of what I want. So there's some idea of what I want, but I have not adequately examined it in order to have sufficient clarity. Uh, and so then I'm just carrying around this vague idea. And for some people, it's not so vague, but it's still not clear enough. But in my own experience, it was very vague, continues to be vague. Whenever I'm suffering from level 27 enlightenmentitis, then that's what I'm suffering from, is there's a vague idea of some fantasy of how things should be. And if they could be like that, then, oh my goodness. Oh, so good. So good. So delightful forever and ever. And usually, for me, and I imagine for some other people, not for all people, but for me, that is like level 27 enlightenment is when I'm not bothered by anything. Why? Because there's nothing to be bothered by. Because everybody is behaving so nicely and the weather is always perfect and my body is just feeling so good all the time. That is level 27 enlightenment. You know, so good. And forever and ever and ever. So I'll never have to have a thought that it would ever be otherwise. And it's true, by the way. It's not delusional, it's true. And the problem, in my view, with level 27 enlightenment is then that's just in fantasy land. And then I'm comparing fantasy land with the actuality of what is right now. And and then I'm I'm convincing myself that what is right now is not fantasy land. It's not level 27 enlightenment. And therefore, oh, you know, so frustrated. I'm so disappointed. Oh, what do I have to do to prove that I am worthy of level 27? Look, God, let me list off again today all the things that I've done, how good I am, how, I've done. And then it can easily, for me, it can easily flip to, oh, yeah, you're right, God. You're right. You don't need to say another word. You're right. I am, yeah, I am not even remotely worthy for even level negative 27, much less level 27. So it's just a big mess in my view. And that's why I poke fun at it, not to poke fun at anybody else, but mostly poking fun at myself. Um, but to also point out something that I think is worthwhile, which is I don't personally, I haven't found that it's useful to chase after level 27 enlightenment. Because what I actually am doing then, what I found is if I'm chasing after level 27 enlightenment, what I'm really doing is I'm practicing discontent. And so what happens? I get really good at discontent. And I found the more I chased after level 27 enlightenment, the more unhappy I was. And then when I finally realized, you know what? Let it go. I got happier, happier and happier and happier. The more that I let go of level 27 enlightenment, it's like it's a paradox, I guess. I think that's a paradox. Maybe I'm mistaken about what a paradox is, but I think it's a paradox. Okay. Somebody's trying to tempt me. They say they subscribe to a program with that name if I roll it out. Well, now, what if I chart? I'm just, doing some market research here. If I charged 15,000 for that program, you still interested? Um, okay, we've got another one here. It says, I have noticed when I don't manage my energy, it doesn't allow the situation or the person to evolve either. Yeah, I've noticed that too. We seem, I mean, yeah, it does seem to be true. I don't seem to be able to control other people yet. Um, but and less and less do I think that I actually want to control people. Uh, but I have noticed that the closest I can seem to get is to take care of me. It's like if I'm because a lot of the time if I'm wanting to control other people, it's really because I mean not a lot of the time, always up to now, it has seemed to be the case to me that if I'm wanting to control other people, it's really because I'm just unhappy. And I'm thinking other people are the cause of my unhappiness, and I need to control them so that they can then behave the way I want them to behave so that then I can be happy. And it's like, well, that's crazy. So, how about if I want to be happy, how about I start with being happy? Take care of myself. When I start to take care of myself, okay, what am I doing inside? Making myself unhappy. Oh, I'm holding a lot of tension. Oh, I'm wasting a lot of energy on all these thoughts about how things should be different and how they are. A lot of not, non-acceptance. So when I take care of that and I clean that up, it's like, oh, I'm pretty happy. And then other people, not always, but other people tend to also start to be much more enjoyable to be around. It's like the somewhat like the Mark Twain quote. He's like, my when I was 14, my my father was an absolute idiot. And it was like, and then when I turned 21, I was amazed at how intelligent he had, how much intelligence he had gained in the 7 years, something like that. Um, because it's sort of like that. It's like maybe the other people are not actually more pleasant. Maybe it's just I'm more pleasant. So maybe I'm more able to appreciate their pleasantness. Um, yeah, yes, thank you. To those who have more will be given. Yes, that's the one. Um, okay, so somebody asked, how do I actually find the source of a trigger? Like, I don't know why XYZ is a trigger, but it consistently is. Is there work I can do there? Well, yes. Um, you can join my level 27 enlightenment program for $15,000 and we'll get that taken care of for you. Um, uh, the so I mean it depends. The answer is it depends. So do you need to I guess the question I would start with is, do you need to know the source of the trigger? Is that important? It might be. If it's not, then I wouldn't recommend wasting your energy on it. Um, so that's why I think it's a useful question to start with. And there's not a right or wrong answer. It's just whatever you find. So um, for anything where you're triggered, um, that would be where I would start. Is just ask: is it important to know the source of this trigger? This comes back to, in my view, it's just about knowing what do you want. So, do you want to know the source of the trigger? Then, obviously, if that's what you want, then I guess you gotta find out. But if what you want is, let's say, just to not hold on to it, well, then you don't need to know what the source of the trigger is. It's like the game of hot potato. Do you know the game of hot potato? You pass around the hot potato and you don't want to be caught holding the hot potato. So just don't hold the hot potato. It's like, but sometimes people are holding the hot potato. They're like, why? I need to know, why are my hands burning? Why? What is heat? What is a potato? What caused the potato to be hot? How did the potato come to be? Who first grew the potato? Who first found the potato? How did, all of these things they want to know, deeper, 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 deeper. And, if that's true, awesome. But just know that if you're holding the hot potato, it's going to be hot. And so if it's important to you to keep holding the hot potato while you're investigating about the source of the hot potato, have at it. Um, but if what you actually want is just to be free of holding the hot potato, well, just let it go. Um, and I know that seems crazy, but I have found it is surprisingly useful. I mean, so often I can't even, like hundreds of times every day. For me, it comes down to that. It's like, you know what? This is not important. Let it go. This is not important. I don't need, I don't care. I don't need to know. I don't need any of it. Just let it go. Like, let it go. Why am I gonna rah, 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 why am I gonna do that to myself? It doesn't align with what's important to me. It's not gonna make the world a better place. Nobody's gonna benefit from this. Like there's nothing there. There's just nothing there other than just a habit of going over it and over it and over. And like my hands are burning. I'm like, oh, let it go. That's it. Oh, so now if it turns out that knowing the source is important to you, then there are many different um, techniques that I could recommend, and it would probably depend a lot on the specifics of the trigger and the context and circumstances and everything like that. So I can't give you one. I mean, I could give you a one size fits all, but I can't give you one that would be like, this is the best one for this circumstance because I don't know what the circumstance is. I'll give you just one simple thing that can, it might not be the best fit all the time, but it can be quite useful. Um, is so the way that I understand this, the way that I view it, the model that I use, which seems to be working pretty well, is that I'm only dealing with past impressions. That's it. I'm not actually ever really present to what's here. I'm dealing with past impressions that are uh so something is occurring. My mind is looking for patterns that it can recognize. And so it's now trying to do pattern recognition. It's not actually present to what is, it's just trying to find a pattern in what is, and then compare that to patterns that it knows from the past. The pattern is not the truth of what is. The pattern uh, is a uh, I can't think of a good word for this, but it's not the reality, but it's something that is between the reality and me. And then my mind is trying to find examples of this pattern from the past. So it can then determine, is this good? Is this bad? Do I like it? Do I dislike it? Is it safe? Is it dangerous? And so if I'm triggered, then I, in my model, what that means is that my mind is matching to some pattern or patterns from the past, which uh, are, in my mind, are problematic. Somehow is dangerous in some way, not necessarily physically dangerous, but somehow. Uh, so in that case, there's two. If if my mind is matched a pattern, uh, there's a couple of different ways to see this, but I'll just view it one way. If my mind matched a pattern from the past, and my mind said, "Okay, I think that what's happening now is like this thing from the past, and this thing from the past is problematic. Therefore, what's happening now is probably problematic." Uh, One way that can be quite useful to resolve that is to identify what was the original. Doesn't even have to be the original, but the further back I go in time to find the earliest pattern match, the earliest instance of that pattern that my mind comes up with now, that's going to be a higher leverage thing to work with. And what that really is telling me is that that was something that happened in the past that I was not able to adequately resolve to my liking in the past. So it stays as an open loop because my mind is like, well, this seems dangerous. So it stays as an open loop. Now, the fact of the matter is that I survived. So, but my mind hasn't quite closed that loop yet. So what really is there is for me to close the loop is to just figure out, well, given something like this, what is a better understanding, a better way that is available to me given what I now know? And so the what I would use is this. I would say I'd notice, okay, I'm feeling triggered. Notice the feeling. So the feeling is the thread. That's the pattern match. So I would notice the feeling, and then I would ask myself, when is the first time I can remember feeling this feeling now? So it doesn't have to be the first time that I ever felt the feeling, because that's asking too much. It's just the first time I can remember now. And that just frees me to just allow my subconscious just to volunteer. Here's the earliest memory that I can remember now. And it will come up with something. And I find it's best not to second guess it, just go with it. If an earlier memory comes up at some point in the process, go with the earlier memory. But usually, especially if the memory that comes back is like, age 4 or 5, something that's like probably great. Um, so then when that memory comes up, then you just asked me the question of how to find the source of the trigger. So I've answered that. Um, how might you process that to release the negative emotional charge, um, is a different question, which you didn't ask, but I will I will answer by saying there are a lot of different ways to do that, and I there's not a one way is the best way. It really depends on a lot of different factors, but in a sense, any of the ways can work. They might not always be the most efficient for you in a given situation. But I'll give you one relatively simple way to do it, uh, which is this is what I call the rapid resolution method. I might have a video on YouTube about this, but I don't. Unfortunately, I don't name my videos that well. I don't think it's called the rapid resolution method. Um, but I think I have a video where I go into some more detail about this. But I'll give you the relatively short version now. The essence of this is that whatever. So our there's an intelligence in us that can close the gap. It knows everything already. It is able to connect the dots for us. It's like if you think about it in your life, you learned how to walk, right? I mean, I assume, and or you learn how to talk. You learn these things that you probably take mostly for granted at this point. Um, and if you think about how complex these things are, really, really, really complex. I mean, even the simplest things like lifting your head or holding something with your hand and like holding a spoon and bringing the spoon, coordinating the spoon to your mouth, it's really complex. And most of us take that for granted. Um, but how did you how did you do that? And the answer is you don't know. But there's an intelligence in you that was able to do it and is able to do that with anything and everything. It's incredible. And we really just need to give it the opportunity, get out of the way, just set the stage, give it the opportunity, show up enough and allow it to happen. And so a method, this rapid resolution method kind of does that. That's the idea of it is that it this intelligence is already there in you. It has all the everything that it needs in order to be able to close the gap so that this negative emotional charge no longer needs to be there because you will have learned whatever you need to learn to have a level of confidence so that you can feel safe in your life. Uh, this intelligence knows how to do that. You just need to show up and give it the opportunity. It's like, again, if you get a cut, this intelligence knows how to allow the cut to heal. You don't have to do that, but you do have to provide the context for that. You have to, in, depending on the severity of the cut, you might need a certain kind of rest and things like that. You need to provide that because if you don't, the intelligence is going to have a really difficult time overriding your using your will against yourself. And so the rapid resolution method is really just you choosing to provide that space so that this intelligence can connect the dots for you and bring about that healing. Um, so all that is necessary then is there's something about this memory, whatever the memory is, there's something about that that is still troubling you. There's something about it where you feel, on some level, you feel unresolved about it. There's something you wanted, but you didn't know at that time how to achieve what you wanted. And again, the intelligence in you knows how it knows what you wanted. You don't even have to figure this out analytically, consciously. This intelligence knows what you wanted, knows how to achieve that, and it will connect things up for you if you just give the space for it. So the way to do that is you just in your mind, you recall the memory, and you just allow yourself to go into it and just feel whatever you feel and notice whatever you notice, see whatever you see in your mind's eye, hear whatever you hear, and just and then just let go. So the letting go means you don't fixate on it, don't try to figure it out, don't try to analyze it, don't try to push through because that's you trying to do it, but that won't work nearly as well as just allowing the intelligence to do it. So you just for a second, 2 seconds, something like that, you really just put your attention on the memory, everything that you can, just be attentive, present to it, allowing. You don't have to try, you don't have to force, nothing like that. You just be present to it, allow, notice, and then just let go. And you can shift your attention to something else because you really want to give the space so that you're not, again, you don't want to try to interfere. Just let the intelligence do its thing. It's going to figure it out for you. Then you're just going to repeat that again and again and again. So the process is just, you just focus on the memory, notice everything, be attentive, be aware, be present, receptive, and then just let go. Just shift your attention to something else for a second. And then again, put your attention on the memory, notice whatever you notice. You repeat that until you have either you're emotionally neutral, genuinely, like you cannot provoke any unpleasantness with it, try as you might, or maybe you even have some positive feeling about it. Um, at that point, you should notice there's a pretty significant shift that will run through like a thread. It will run through everything that has your mind is connected to that memory and that feeling all the way up to the present and then into the future as well. So that's the essence of that method. It's very, very simple. Um, it's very accessible, except um, if you don't know, if you the prerequisite, I guess, is already having familiarity and some degree of confidence in how to be present and how to let go, because those are kind of prerequisite skills. So if you don't know how to do those things, then I recommend starting with the self-awareness course that I offer, which is the it's part of the Real Transformation Guide as well. So anybody who gets access to the Real Transformation Guide also will get access to the self-awareness course, um, which will give you the suggestions for how to practice so that you can know how to be present and let go, and that will lay the groundwork so that you can get the most out of the rapid resolution method. Yeah, somebody says the Living Fearlessly course covers the rapid resolution method in detail. This is true. Yeah. Um, I think I might offer that course again to a live cohort sometime soon because I think I could think I could simplify it and do a even better job now. But it is true. Yes. But unfortunately, only those who have access to it now uh, have access to it because I don't make that available um, presently. Otherwise, somebody here comment says, "I am learning letting go means stop giving meaning to it negative, especially it takes the edge off and easy comes in." Great, glad that's working for you. Uh, and my question would be, if you stop giving meaning to it, how do you do that? And I'm asking that question. You don't need to answer. You don't need to answer me. I mean, you don't need to answer at all. But the reason I'm asking the question is because I think that if to the degree that you can have clarity about the mechanism that allows you to do that, uh, that will make it even more accessible for you. And then you'll have a greater degree of confidence around it. Because it's like any skill, once you really have a granular level of uh, understanding about the skill and you've practiced all of the components of it so that you have a high degree of confidence in your ability to do those things. It's really life changing in within that domain. And in this case, I think this covers all domains in a sense. So I think it's a really powerful skill. Somebody here says, I lose my best innocent version of myself and I don't like it. I don't want to let it go. Um, well, if you lose something, then uh, it might be, I'll just speak from my own experience. So if I have some, if I can lose something, uh, so if I say I lose, then what I lose, what I'm saying is, and if I say I lose something, then uh, to the best of my ability, I'm representing my experience. So my experience, my understanding of my experience is that I lose something. And so what I'm saying is that I lose something, I lost something. So the the I who I'm identifying as is has lost something. So it's therefore not possible that what I have lost is I, because I lost. So I remain. I remain in order to report on this experience. I lost. So if I lost, then I is here to report on the experience that I lost something. So it's like I could say, okay, I have a pencil. Oh no, I lost the pencil. But I'm here to report that I lost the pencil. So I'm not the pencil. The pencil is not I. I did not lose I. I lost the pencil. Okay, what does that tell me? That tells me the pencil is not I. Now, I might have previously thought the pencil is I. Therefore, and then when I lose the pencil, I might mistakenly think, oh no, I lost I. But if I really examine it, I realize, well, that couldn't be, because I'm here to report on my experience of having lost the pencil. Therefore, I didn't lose I. I lost the pencil. Pencil is not I. Ah, which is really nice, because what that means is this is what I was, this comes back to the metaphor that I was using with the boxes, moving things around. Okay, I'm carrying a box and the box is I. It's precious. It's very precious. I can't lose it. It's I. I'm carrying I. It's heavy, very heavy, but it's really important. I can't lose it. Oh, it's heavy. But I got to hold it. I can't let it go. I can't lose it. But it's heavy. And then I'm like, oh no, I lost it. I lost I. Oh no, what will I do? Well, what will I do? I've lost I. And then I might, if I'm fortunate, I might realize, oh, wait a second. I lost I. Well, I can't, I couldn't possibly lose I. I lost a box. Ah, oh, what a relief. I thought the box was I, but the box is not I. I just lost a box. So, and then it's likely to keep coming up. It's like, oh, but but in the box was such and such, and that's I. So, no, no, no. If I'm here to report on it, then I didn't lose I. It's not possible. I couldn't lose I. I lost a box with stuff in it. I lost a box with stuff in it that I mistook for I. But I'm reporting on the experience. The box is not here. I'm here. Therefore, the box is not I. Now, there there can be many things that that come along with that. So I lose the box. I lose the box and I say, okay, I accept that the box is not I, but there's a feeling that I don't have. That there's a feeling that I had when I had the box. So the box was not I, but the feeling was I. And I've lost that feeling. Therefore, I've lost I. It's like, well, no. I'm here to report on the experience. If the feeling isn't here, and I'm here to report that I lost the feeling, then good news. Feeling is not I. Uh, so, but it takes sometimes some uh, persistence with the inquiry because out of habit, the identification with the things, with the sensations, with the feelings, with the emotions, with the memories, with the thoughts, with the images, and so forth, can be very uh, tenacious. Here's a word. Uh, and so it can take some repeated inquiry to get clearer that no, it doesn't make any sense. I'm here to report, and this goes really, it goes really deep actually, because even then, I I I can get to a certain point and say, ah, okay, I get it now. What a relief. The box is not I, the feelings are not I, the mental images are not I. Oh, what a relief. The I is just the I who's reporting that I lost all the things, but I'm here. What a relief. But then the process will start over again because then it starts to be at a subtler level. Then there's now this very subtle box, small, subtle feeling. It's like, oh, and that I get it now. This is I. Oh, it's so nice. This is so much nicer than before. Big, heavy box. Now it's subtle, small box, light. Oh, it's so nice. But then it's like, oh no, where did the small, subtle, light box go? I've lost I. I've lost I. What will I do? What will I do? And then repeat it over again. It's like, well, wait, hold on. No, I'm here to report on this. If the box is not here, it's not I. Good news. It's like it just keeps going. And with all the things, the relationships, the roles, all the things, because it's like, okay, I can accept people do this with all kinds of things. It's like, oh, I am my role. I'm vice president of acquisitions for some big wig corporation. I am that. I am that I'm an MBA. I am a husband. I am a father. I am a caretaker. I am a philanthropist. I am a soccer player. I am whatever. I am a nice person. And so, but as I mentioned earlier, my observation has been in this life, everything is transitory. So that includes all those things, it's like all the all the roles, the titles, the descriptions, the skills, the abilities, all the things, they they come and they go. They come and they go. And so if I think I am these things, then it works as long as those things are here. And I'm say, oh, this is nice. I am this, I am this, I am this, I am this, I am this. And then it goes, and I'm like, oh no, where did I go? I'm not here. Oh no. And then the inquiry reveals, wait a second. No. I'm here to report that I lost that. Therefore, whatever I lost is not I. But then, like I said, it can be subtle because there can be a lot of things that are attached in, it's these feelings and mental images and but the inquiry will take care of it if for me at least, if I just continue to inquire, status, uh, what other people think of me, so many layers of this stuff. But if I lose them, because I will. I mean, I'm going to lose all the things, all the things, all the things, reputation, the body, all of it. It's all going to be lost. So, but if I think I'm that, then that is lost. Then if I can report that I've lost it, am I that I lost? Couldn't be. So there's just a possibility of that inquiry continuing. That's what I got. I don't know if you like it. Uh, and by the way, you say I don't want to let it go. I mean, and don't if you don't want to. That's why I I suggested that I find it very valuable to get clear on what I want. Because if you say, I don't want to let it go, I mean, my question would be, what do you want? Because that's what you don't want. I don't want to let it go. So great. And what is it you do want? Um, but if you say, what I want is to hold on to it. Okay, awesome. Then you say, but I lost it. Okay, well, if if what you want is to hold it, then I guess you gotta get it back. So you can go on a quest and get it back and then hold it to fulfill your desire to hold it. And there's nothing wrong with that. If that's what you want, awesome, go for it. If it turns out that's not what you want, then what do you want instead? And let go of let go of everything else. Because, I mean, don't listen to me, listen to yourself. But like, I'm inviting you to inquire, and I'm just reporting on what it is that I've noticed for myself is I'm like, okay, well, what do I want? I know what I don't want. I mean, that like my mind is constantly telling me I don't want this, I don't want that, I don't want this, I don't want that, I don't want this, I don't want that. It's like, okay, great. What do you want? Uh, and then when I know what I don't want, then it's like, okay, just let go, just let go, just let go. Anything else? My mind's like, well, what about this? What about that? What about this? Oh, I lost this thing. I lost this thing. It's like, okay, but is that what I want? It's not what I want. Okay, great. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Why am I going to waste my energy trying to hold on to things that I don't want? That's me. You'll do what you want. Uh, Pleroma, paradise, high frequency. That sounds, I don't know. What is pleroma? That sounds Greek. It's Greek. Is it Greek? I don't speak Greek. Uh, Paradise, high frequency. Paradise, it sound, I don't want to be judgmental, but I'm wondering if you might be talking about level 27 enlightenment. Uh, I don't know. I just know for myself, uh, like paradise high frequency. Okay, I can see how I can have level, I can have that. Paradise high frequency. What is for me paradise high frequency? It's like if I want paradise high frequency, then for me personally, and I don't know about you, for me, that's just a whole lot of letting go, whole lot of letting go, whole lot of letting go. Like paradise high frequency, I, to me, that's like, okay, uh, worry. Well, that's it's not what I want. Gonna let it go. Stress. Well, that's not what I want. So I'm gonna let it go. Jealousy. That's not what I want. So I'm gonna let it go. Frustration. Not what I want. So I'm gonna let it go. So, for me, and I don't know if that's true for you, but for me, paradise high frequency, that's a whole lot of letting go. Because to me, Paradise High Frequency is just what's here. Paradise High Frequency is just what's here. There's no like Paradise High Frequency is what is in my understanding, my perception of it. It's what's here uh, before I before I layer any of my judgments on it, before I bring in my baggage of and labels about it and start saying, okay, this is good and that's bad and everything. It's like it's just Paradise High Frequency. That's what I find. So then to me, it's just like, well, it's already only Paradise High Frequency. I got nothing to add to it. Got absolutely nothing to add, dude. I'm really clear on that. Like no thought that I'm going to have is going to be higher frequency than was already here. No mental image that I have is going to be a higher frequency than it's already here. So I've got nothing at all to add to it. If all I want is Paradise High Frequency, now I've got the Guns N' Roses song going in my head. You know that one? Take me down to a paradise city where the grass is green and the girls are pretty. And on that, I think that's a great note to leave it on. So blessings to you all. Hope you have a really wonderful week, and I will see you next time. Take care. Bye for now.